So last week we simplified, and what does simplify mean? It means distributed property and combining like terms, right? Pretty much, distributed property and combining like terms. Today we're finally going to start Unit 2, which is solving equations, and we're specifically starting with solving simplified equations. You don't have to do any distributed property or combining like terms on these. Let's jump right into our page of notes that you just got. It says right here, top left corner, it says up until this point we've only been simplifying expressions. This is an expression, and we could make it more simple by doing what? By combining like terms, right? So we could actually combine the 2x and the negative 5x, and back last week I told you either underline it, circle it, or something. Anyways, 2x minus 5x, that's a negative 3x, and the plus 3, you just bring it, and that's your answer. You bring it over, and that's your answer. Now, this is not a solution. Equations have solutions. You see, this isn't an equation. This is an equation down here. What makes it an equation is that there's an equal sign inside of it. Up here, there's no equal sign. Right here, there is. This is an equation. And an equation, let's begin by saying that an equation is kind of like a balanced scale, right? So we have a little scale right here. And an equation is kind of like a balanced scale. Now, what do I mean by that? They're both equal right now. There's nothing on each side. But what would happen if I put like a box right there? What would happen? It would get off balance. It goes down on this side, right? Until I do the same and add that same box over here, then it would get balanced again. Make sense? Yeah. Okay, so I could do whatever I want to an equation, but I need to do it to both sides in order to keep the balance. So I could add 3 triangles to both sides and it stays equal, right? It's balanced because it's equal. So first thing to know about an equation is that it has 2 sides. The equal sign is what separates the sides. And also that it's like a balanced scale, right? Whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. You could add 3 triangles. As long as you add 3 triangles to the other side, it'll remain equal. You could subtract a triangle. Like let's say, let's just scratch that triangle out. As long as you scratch that triangle out, then it'll stay equal. Does that make sense? So you could do whatever you want. You could multiply this side by 2. You could multiply that side by 2. As long as you do it to both sides, it'll stay equal. You could divide this by 4 as long as you divide this by 4. So you can do whatever you want. But as long as you do it to both sides, the equality will remain. And that's what I say down here. Whatever you do to one side, you must do to the other. All right, so this is very important right here. The goal of solving any equation is to get x by itself on one side. Okay? The goal is to get your variable by itself on one side of the equal sign. Okay. Now, most of the time we're going to be working with x's. I think this whole worksheet is on x's. But on the homework, we have different variables. You might have a, b, you might have f, whatever. But the bottom line is the goal of any equation, of solving any equation, is to get that letter by itself on one side of the equal sign. Okay. So let's go back up to this one right here. This is an example of an equation. It says 2x plus 3 equals 5. What's the goal of solving this equation? Getting the x by itself on one side of the equal sign. Where's the equal sign? Here it is. Where's the x at? Is it on the left side or the right side? It's on the left side. I need to get this x by itself. It's not by itself. There's a 2 in front of it and there's a plus 3 behind it. Okay, which one do I get rid of first? The 3. And let me help you understand how to get rid of the 3 first, or why we get rid of the 3 first. What's the most important thing on an equation when you're solving it? The x, right? You want x by itself. You want x equals a number. So x is super important. This is the most important thing on an equation. So imagine that we're like a movie star, right? This is like the movie star's buddy. Pretty cool, right? This guy's like the bum at the corner. You don't care about this guy, all right? So let's get rid of this guy by doing the inverse operation. What do I mean by that? How do you get rid of something? You do the opposite. If there's a fire, you turn it off with water. If you have a plus 3, you get rid of it with negative 3 or minus 3, whatever you want to call it. Minus 3 here. And of course, positive 3, take away 3 is 0. Now, if I do take away 3 on the left side, it's going to get lighter. It's going to get off balance until what? It's off balance. What do I need to do to make it balanced again? Take away 3 on the other side, and it'll be back to balanced, right? The equal is still existing because I took away 3 from both sides. So whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other side. So 3 take away 3, that eliminates. What do I have left? I have a 2x left over. The equal sign comes down. 5 take away 3 is 2. Now, right here, students always make mistakes. They say, oh, I want to get rid of this 2. I'm going to subtract 2. But the problem is, this does not say x plus 2, does it? It doesn't say x plus 2. It says 2 times x. So this really says 2 times x. I want to get rid of the multiplication of 2. How do I get rid of something? By doing the opposite. What's the opposite of multiplying by 2? Dividing by 2. And what you do to one side right there, dividing by 2, it's going to be off balance. I need to also divide by 2 on the other side to keep the balance, to keep the equality. So of course, 2 divided by 2 is 1. You could just cross it out. 1x, or you could just write x. The equal sign comes down some more. And 2 divided by 2 is 1. There's your answer, x equals 1. By the way, whenever you get an answer, if you want to double check it, if you're not too sure, you take the value that you got, the 1, and plug it back in. And imagine that. 2 times 1, that is 2. And 2 plus 3, it really does equal 5. So we've double checked it. We know that x equals 1 is the correct answer. So we're going to go through tons of, these are called simplified equations. Why are they simplified? Because there is no distributed property in combining like terms. It's only 2 or at most 3 steps on today's practice. So these are pretty simple equations. Well, let's continue on. Once again, the goal is to get x by itself on one side. How do you do that? If you want to get rid of something, you must do the opposite, the inverse operation. And remember, what you do to one side, you must do to the other. Now, here are the 2 steps to solving any equation. So these are the notes actually for like the whole chapter, for the whole unit 2. Step 1, simplify both sides of the equation. Distributed property and combining like terms. That's what I mean by simplify. Okay? And step 2, isolate the variable on one side. What does that mean? Get x by itself. And how do you do that? You get rid of things by doing the opposite, and what you do to one side, you must do to the other. And of course, like I said, on this section, we will not even have step 1 because all of them are already simplified, right? Like there is no, like up here, there was no distributed property where I have to distribute the 2 inside of parentheses. That will happen later, but not today, okay? So down here on these boxes, we have several examples of simple 1 and 2-step equations, and they even show you how to do it in words on the right side of this. But right now, let's just look at this and recognize x is what's important. I want x by itself on the left side of the equal sign, because it's originally on the left side of the equal sign. I want to get rid of the plus 3. How do I do that? Subtract 3, right? So everybody write down a minus 3 right there. And of course, what you do to one side, you must do to the other side, subtract 3 over here to keep the equality, right? So what do I have left? Well, the x is left over, bring that down. The equal sign, bring that down. And 11 take away 3 is 9. No, 8. So x equals 8 is the answer. If you wanted to double check that, you could take the value of 8, plug it in right there. 8 plus 3, it really is 11. Double checked it. So again, I explain what to do in words. We must get the x by itself. You don't want the plus 3, so get rid of it by doing the opposite. Remember, what you do to one side, do to the other. So it's all there, but I would like us to just go through it right now. This does not say x minus 3, right? It doesn't say x minus 3. What does it say? It says negative 3 times x. So I want to get rid of the multiplication of negative 3. How do I get rid of the multiplication? Divide by negative 3. And if you divide by negative 3 on the left side, it's going to get lighter. It's off balance until I divide by negative 3 on the right side. It's now back to balance. Now it's back to being equal. Okay, so on the left side, a negative 3 divided by a negative 3 is 1. So I could put 1x, or I could just put x. X is nicer. Bring down the equal sign. And on the right side, what's 12 divided by negative 3? 4. And based on the rules that we learned before, a positive divided by a negative is a negative. So x equals negative 4. And you could always take that value of negative 4 and plug it back in right there and think, okay, negative 3 times negative 4, does it equal 12? Yes, it does. You're 100% sure that that's the correct answer. Check out this one. Once again, what's the most important thing on an equation? the x, or the a or the b or whatever letter you're talking about, right? Whatever you're solving for. The x is the most important thing. That's kind of like the movie star. This is kind of like the movie star's buddy. Which one are you going to get rid of first? The bum at the corner, that -5, right? So let's get rid of that -5 by doing what? +5, that's right. Everybody should be following along here. If I add 5 on the left side, that's going to get off balance. It got heavy until I do what? Add 5 on the other side as well. That'll bring it back to balance, back to being equal. So whatever you do to one side, you must do to the other. What's left over? I have a -2x. I have the equal sign. And I have 13 plus 5, which is 18. Now, what does that really say? It says -2 times x. So I want to get rid of that multiplication of -2. How do I do that? Divide by that -2, and I will get x equals -9. By the way, if you're not too good with multiplying and dividing, I highly recommend you guys use a calculator. Now, you guys could, during our homework assignment, use your cell phone if you want. I do have calculators in the back. I'll get those out, but I highly recommend buying a calculator so you could use during your quizzes and tests, because you cannot use your cell phones during quizzes and tests, all right? So if you could, they're pretty cheap. You could get a scientific calculator. Any basic calculator will get you the multiplication going and division going. All right, there's one up here, and this one's different because we have fractions. Now, I know you guys are probably thinking, oh, I don't want to do that one. That one looks confusing. Why does it look confusing? Because of the fraction, right? Yeah. What is a fraction really? It's really a division problem. It's a decimal, that's true, but a fraction is technically a division problem. This 2/5, what it's really saying is 2 divided by 5, which does give you a decimal. But it is a division of 5, right, in this case. And the beauty of an equation is that you could do whatever you want as long as you do it to both sides of the equation. So if you don't want a divided by 5, you could get rid of it by doing the opposite of dividing by 5. What's the opposite of dividing by 5? Multiplying by 5. So everybody put a little times and a 5, and put that 5 further up. You want the 5 up on top, okay? Right next to the 2, not on the bottom next to the 5. And of course, what you do to one side, you must do to the other side, so multiply by 5 over there to keep the balance. And as you could see, the 5 up on top divided by 5 on the bottom will eliminate. So that will just leave us the 2x, and that's a lot easier than the original equation. So of course, -4 times 5 is -20. And now, what do we really have? No more fraction, but we do have 2 times x equals -20. So I'm going to get rid of this multiplication of 2 by dividing by 2. And what I do to one side, I do to the other side. I will now have x equals -10. And of course, you could double check it by plugging it in and working it out. This one down here. I know some of us are getting a little more scared, but don't, right? Because what's my goal of solving any equation? Getting what? Getting the x by itself, either on the left side of the equal sign or the right side. So my goal is to get this x by itself. This is what's important to me. I need to get rid of everything, including this and this, but which one do I get rid of first? The 5, right? Remember, this is the movie star. That's like the movie star's buddy. This is the bum at the corner. The number that's all by itself, get rid of that guy first, always. All right? So that -5, how do I get rid of the -5? +5 there. That'll cancel. What I do to one side, I do to the other side. +5 there. What's left over on my equation? Well, I have this -2/3 x. Let me bring that down. -2/3 x. I have the equal sign. Let me bring that down. And I have 1 + 5, which is 6. Yay? So I have this new equation that reads -2/3 x equals 6. Now, once again, the fraction looks confusing. It would be nice if I didn't have that divided by 3, huh? If it just said -2x equals 6, then I could just divide by -2, divide by -2, and I'd be done. So if I don't want that divided by 3, I could get rid of this divided by 3. How? Multiplying by 3, right? So I could multiply by 3 as long as what I do to one side, I do to the other side to keep the balance. Multiply the 6 by 3. So as you could see, the 3 on top and the 3 on the bottom, 3 divided by 3 is 1. What is left over on the left side, I have a -2x equaling 6 times 3 is 18. I'm almost done. The -2 in front of the x, that's really being multiplied by x, right? -2 times x. So if I don't want that multiplication of -2, I get rid of it by doing what? division of negative 2 of that same exact value, divide by negative 2. So here's my final answer, x equals negative 9. X equals negative 9. Now, this was a multi-step problem. And if you understand it, that's great. But you don't have to worry about that today. Today, we're focusing in on one-step problems, maybe two. But this was a total of 3 steps. We're going to wait for that till tomorrow. Right now, we're going to have like these types of questions, 1 through 4. So check this out. I want to do 1, 2, 3, and 4. Number 1, I want to get x by itself on the left side of this equal sign. How do I get rid of that plus 2? A minus 2 or a negative 2, whatever you want to call it. And of course, if you subtract 2, it's going to get light. It's going to be off balance. What do I need to do?
Do it
same to the other side. So what do I have left? The x, the equal sign, and think of money if you don't have a calculator. I owe 8, I owe 2, I'm going to owe 10. So my answer is x equals negative 10. Easy peasy, right? How about number 2? What does that say? It says negative 2 times x equals negative 8. So how do I get rid of that negative 2 that's in front of the x? Division of that exact value, negative 2. Division of that exact value, negative 2. What you do to one side, do to the other side. That'll cancel out. What do I have? I have x equals positive 4. Let's move on to the last 2 questions here. I want this x by itself. I don't want this divided by 3. How do I get rid of the divided by 3? I multiply by 3. Notice, I'm putting that times 3 up there, not down here. Don't put it down there, okay? Keep it up on top. Why? Because 3 over 3 is really 3 over 3, which is 1. That's why it cancels out. Okay, so 3 over 3 cancels out. We have the x left. Don't forget, what you do to one side, do to the other. So we also need to multiply by 3 over here, and that'll give me a negative 18. So x equals negative 18. Now, this last one is so easy that you might get confused. Number 4, so easy you might get confused. What's the goal of solving any equation? Let x be by itself. Is x by itself? Kinda, it's just, I don't want a negative. I want it to be a positive x, right? So the mathematical explanation would be, if you want it to be positive, you could do whatever you want. So you could multiply the left side by negative 1, multiply the right side by negative 1, and that will give you x equals negative 2/3. That's the mathematical explanation. Or the quick and easy way of doing it is saying, I don't want it to be a negative x. I want it to be positive. Boom. There, I changed it. But what you do to one side, you have to do to the other side. So if you change the sign on the left side, you have to change the sign on the right side. So what's my answer going to be? X equals negative 2/3. Of course, once again, the mathematical explanation, like if some math teacher says, hey, you better show your work, well then you would say, okay, I could multiply this side by negative 1, as long as I multiply this side by negative 1, and you'll get the answer, positive x equals negative 2/3. Right? That's the actual work right there. Or you could also divide by negative 1. Anyway, I just did those 4. There's another 4 that are very similar to it. I want to pause it right now. I want you guys to do it. Go for it. Do 1 through 4. But on this section right here, it says wait till tomorrow. So don't continue on. We're just going to do these 4 right now. I want to pause it, and then we'll go over the answers in a couple of seconds. So I did ask you guys to walk up to the front and show me your work, and you guys did all 4 questions correctly, and these are the answers. X equals 5, x equals 3, x equals 32, x equals 5. And we are going to wait on the rest of these till tomorrow. Okay? We're going to focus just on these 1-step, maybe 2-step equations, and that is going to be seen on the worksheet that we're passing out right now. Here it is. Now, I do want to do a couple of these together with you, even though there's already a video explaining every single question. But what is the goal of solving any equation? Getting x by itself on one side of the equal sign. Now, as you look at this worksheet, there's all kinds of letters. They don't even use x on any of these, I don't think. And not only that, like we have a question like number 4. Everybody take a look at number 4. You may need a calculator to be more precise, right? Or to not make mistakes. But if we look at number 4, the goal is to get x by itself, in this case m by itself, on one side of the equal sign. Where's the m at? Is it on the left side of the equal sign or the right side? It's on the right side of the equal sign. I want it by itself. So I need to get rid of this plus 71. How do I get rid of the plus 71? Minus 71, that's right. Cancel that out. What you do to one side, do to the other side, minus 71. Again, calculator will be easier, right? You owe $16 and you owe $71. Dang, you're going to owe a lot of money. that's technically owing $87. So owing $87, the equal sign comes down, the M comes down, and there's your answer. However, they're asking you to solve for M. They don't want you to talk about 87, they want you to talk about the M. So let's write it the correct way. M equals negative 87. And we will have some questions like this on the quiz this week. Make sure you type them in with the variable first. M equals negative 87. Even though this is correct, this is how we want to type it in. All right. You guys want to see one with the fraction?
Yes, please.
All right. This one right here, it looks complicated, but it's not. It could be done several different ways. First of all, where's your A at? The left side or the right side?
Left side.
Left side. How could I get rid of this part of the fraction, which is really a divided by 15? Multiply by 15. So I'm going to put a dot, I'm going to put a big 15 up here, and what I do to one side, I do to the other side. And it's important that we put that times 15 up there in the numerator position. Why? Because 15 up on top divided by 15 on the bottom, it becomes 1. And there's my goal to get A by itself, 1A, equals, but what does this equal over here? Well, there's two ways of doing it. You could think 4 times 15, which is 60 on a calculator, and then 60 divided by 5 is 12 on a calculator. Or you could think of it simpler, a 15 on top divided by a 5 on the bottom, which, 15 over 5, that's a 3, and the 3 is left over up on top. So 4 times 3, that's 12. What do you think? Cool. And here's another way, when you have a fraction equal to a fraction, you could kind of think of it as reducing. Look, watch, let me go back and erase everything. The way I explained it, that's the way I want you to do it. But here's like a little trick, a little shortcut. You could be thinking a fraction, some number up on top over 15, some number over 15 has to reduce down to 4/5. So some number over 15 has to reduce down to 4/5. 15, how does it reduce down to 5? Dividing by 3, right? Going backwards, it'd be 15 times 3. So over here, 4 times 3 would give you what? 12. That's mental math. But what I would like you to do is do what we did just a couple of seconds ago, multiply both sides by 15, and then reduce. Anyway, we also have some word problems down here. Maybe I'll explain this one later. That one's kind of tricky. 18? You want to do 18?
Yes.
Sure. Do you want to do it the way we're supposed to do it, or the mental math way? How about this? I'll do mental math, but then I'll show you the way you're supposed to do it, right? Some big fraction has to reduce down to equal 1/6. Yeah? Some big fraction has to reduce down to equal 1/6. How do you get from 24 down to 6? 24 divided by what is 6? 24 divided by 4 is 6, right? So Q, whatever number this is, divided by 4 is 1. So if it's divided by 4 to get to 1, it'd be times 4 to get to here, right? In other words, 6 times 4 gives you 24. 1 times 4 gives you Q. So I already know the answer is Q equals 4. But that's not how I want you to do it. That's just the quick mental math way. The way I want you to do it is to get Q by itself on the left side of this equal sign. I don't want this divided by 24, so what do? Multiply by 24. And when you do to one side, do to the other side. Multiply by 24. So yes, 24 divided by 24 is 1, which means I have a 1Q, or just Q. And then on the right side, I have 24 over 6. So you could multiply the top with the top and the bottom with the bottom, or you could just cancel, right? 24 over 6, you could divide both of those by 6. 6 divided by 6 is 1. 24 divided by 6 is 4. So 1 times 4 is 4. 4 over 1 is just 4. So Q equals 4. So ladies and gentlemen, you guys have seen me solve all these equations. I want you to go through and solve all these. Oh yeah, you know what? Be careful with this one. What does that really say? That really says 8 plus n. The minus changes to plus plus. So 8 plus n equals 1. Then you could worry about getting n by itself on the left side of the equal sign. Anyways, I'm done. This video is too long already. There's two videos explaining every single question on this worksheet. find those videos on Google Classroom if you want to see how they're worked out.